do a little quick raffle. You didn't put one in yourself, right?
I'm still accepting bribes. What's this for?
It's for Cirque du Soleil tickets. Because that, actually, you know what, it's going to be a continuation of this event. We will have about 20 of us going all on the same date to the Cirque event.
Nice. Alright, so let's see.
Oh wait.
Number 102.
102. Who is 102? Yay! Well, all you need to do is leave your name with me, and then we'll make sure you get the tickets, okay? Congratulations. Thanks, Matt. So now I'm going to have a colleague of Matt's, Hyland, come up and talk to us a little bit about... Oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. We're going to have an interview by Thomas Crampton. Hold on.
Oh, I'm just going to quickly introduce Thomas before we ask both Matt and Thomas to come up. So Thomas, which is one of our guests, and actually the reason why how we got all the tickets from Cirque du Soleil. So actually a big round of applause for Thomas. For the 20 tickets. And of course, Bonnie told me the story. So Thomas is a recovered journalist turned blogger, formerly with the New York Times and the International Herald Tribune, and now working in Asia Pacific Directors of Digital Strategy, Ogilvy. So now I'm actually going to give him the microphone and also invite Matt to come up for a very casual interviews and with all the questions you guys posted in front earlier. So Matt, come on up.
We got two microphones. Okay, great. Matt, please come up.
You want to sit in front?
We can sit in front too, either way, whatever works. So this is supposed to be extremely interactive because, unfortunately, I missed the beginning of the event today. I just had a baby daughter a few weeks ago, which prevented me from coming this morning. So I did not, in fact, hear Matt's presentation. So if I ask a question that is in that, Matt and I have agreed that he will give a very quick answer, and through that I will interpret it that I shouldn't have asked that question. On the other hand, on the other hand, I want all of you to ask many, many questions. I have quite a few questions here, but what I thought I'd do is start out with a quick questions, some questions with Matt, which don't go over the history of WordPress that he's already spoken about, I hope, but just to get his sense of blogging and what he thinks about blogging. And raise your hand at any point, please, to ask questions. Maybe you've already spoken about this a little bit, but what was your first, let me get down here from the stage. How did you first start blogging? When did you first see a blog? What was the first blog you saw?
The first blog I ever really got into was actually, do you guys know Jeffrey Zeldman? Zeldman.com? You should all check it out. He's been sort of, to me, like a grandfather of blogging. And it totally blew me away. He was also an early web standards advocate. So he was one of the first people to really say, you know, tables and all these other things we're doing, it's wrong, we should use CSS and design. But more importantly, he did it from a design point of view. So he was first a designer and then a web standards advocate. So it showed everyone that you can have beautiful things that are still standards compliant.
And when did you see that blog? When did you first see it?
So, to get even a little bit clearer, I used to be in high school I founded the Houston Palm Users Group, or Palm Pilots. Does anyone remember Palm Pilots?
Yeah. How many people have Palm Pilots?
Oh,
How many
really?
people used to have Palm Pilots?
I used to have one. I don't have one anymore. So there was a thing, I think it was called Silver Screen for Palm Pilot that would change the icons. It was like a theming thing. You remember that? Yeah. So that's how I was doing websites and such at the time, but they were really bad, like in Front Page and Dreamweaver. And so I guess it was maybe 2000. And he had an icon set for Silver Screen. And that's how I found Zeldman and sort of discovered modern web design.
Okay. And did you immediately, when you saw a blog, you're like, this is something I want to do?
I didn't start a blog until probably about 2 years later, but I did start commenting on blogs. Zeldman's blog did not have comments, but a few others people he linked to, including Dave Weiner, who was very influential on me, did have places where you can interact, or forums or things like that. But I think I started on forums, then came to blogs.
And where were you living at the time?
Houston, Texas.
Okay. Do you have to be in San Francisco to be blogging? Why the move to San Francisco? How did that? It seems like all these sort of things come out.
So I moved to San Francisco because I had a job offer from CNET. I guess you guys have CNET here as well, right? Like yeah. We even have a CNET writer here.
Okay, I better turn that on.
You guys have Punch Party here? Yeah. Boom. So CNET made me a job offer, and I was in college at the time, but it was kind of the job I would have hoped to have gotten when I graduated, so I dropped out of college.
And the job was?
Basically, it was sort of being a CNET person, like a program person, but it was 20 or 30% of my time working on WordPress. I was like, wow, I can get paid for working on this. Kind of blew me away. And I took it, and I moved to San Francisco. Also, San Francisco blew me away.
So you dropped out of college?
Dropped out of college.
So you, Bill Gates, Richard Lee.
Compared to Houston's very hot, very muggy, very, it's an urban sprawl, you drive everywhere, it's completely flat. And I loved it, like my family's there, but San Francisco is like a magical wonderland in comparison. Like, you open the windows and there's free air conditioning, you know, there's things you take for granted there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
So it was a no-brainer, you just like, I'm dropping out of college. What year were you?
No-brainer for me, not for my parents.
Right, okay. That was a tough conversation.
Yeah, you can imagine.
And what year were you in college?
I was a sophomore.
Sophomore.
I just finished my sophomore. I decided
Okay, Mom, Dad, I'm going to San Francisco because I got a job.
Yeah.
I'm quitting college.
Yeah. I miss it though, because I wasn't studying computer science, I was studying political science. Which is far more relevant to running an open source project than computer science is.
So if somebody's trying to go into open source, you would recommend a studying politics, like Machiavelli?
Machiavelli, but I did really enjoy the classics, so like Thucydides and things like that were, I guess, where I was in my studies, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Okay, and while at CNET, you had this revelation. Was it walking down the street in front of a coffee machine?
What? The revelation about?
I have to start WordPress.
So WordPress had already started,
right?
2 years
but
before.
you had to get, WordPress.com.
So a couple of things. One, being at CNET, I really enjoyed my time there, but I learned that it's okay to be on the Titanic as long as you're the one sailing it, like as long as you're the person steering it. And I felt very out of control there, where it's a big organization, a lot of bureaucracy. Have you guys ever seen the movie Office Space? Yeah? Okay, so literally it happened. I started in this awesome corner office, no lie. Like a corner office, all windows, everything like that. And then one day a vice president comes in and is like, nice office. 2 weeks later, I'm out. And so then they moved me to an interior office, but still a lot of lights, still everything was really nice. And then, 3 months later, the games division was doing really well, so they took it all over, and they literally moved me into the basement. And so I'm in the basement, there's no light. I'm like, if they take my red stapler, I'm out of here. And, but also, they were embracing blogs on one hand, but not on the other hand. So I initially pitched WordPress.com and everything there. They were like, we don't think blogs are going to be that big. So I felt like we needed to go someplace else to do that, to execute on that vision. Although they were forward-thinking, they ended up investing in Automatic once it got started.
And how did you make that transition to WordPress.com if you didn't cover this before?